We begin our documentary by examining the bearded American. They wake up in the morning from their slumber to look at their phones as to what is happening in the world around them, rather than looking with their own eyes. Next, they move to their daily cleaning rituals of scratching the beards and digging in the nostrils for lost treasures. They are a peculiar bunch, digging in the ears and other areas such as their armpits, and their teeth appears to be normal. What a magnificent creature.
The Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Kirk, we are here, episode 4 of October. Man, we are having a blast talking about all things TV. Last week, we had Paul joining the 3-time club.
I made a mistake last week, and I kind of got cut off in our conversation. So there's been three-time guests. 3 people have been on 3 times, and then Cobb, if you kind of count his blunder, would have been the 4th. So we've had Dennis, we've had Paul, and we also had Chris Edwards on 3 times. So, yep, those are our 3 big dogs that are leading the pack, and then this week we have somebody bringing on for their 2nd time.
Nice.
And we'll have them on in a second. But we've had a few others, and the show is lined up to have several other of our friends to come back on, and we have some new guests coming.
Yeah, so today, again, talking TV all month. We figured, hey, what's another just really niche kind of area when it comes to TV? And everybody loves, or has at least been a part of watching some kind of documentary. So we're going to talk all about documentaries today. But here's the thing, Kirk. You are Webster's Dictionary aficionado.
Yeah.
For the people that are...
So here's the thing. I as I was thinking about mine, I had to bend the rules a little bit, because I love documentaries, but it's not my jam. It's not my go-to. And there's a fine line of what's a documentary, what's not a documentary. Some of my lists that I pulled up had stuff on. I was like, oh, that's a documentary. I was like, I didn't know that was a documentary. Maybe I can choose that. And then I'll be honest, one of mine coming a little soon later might be a little controversial. So I was like, man, what the heck is a documentary? I go online to the old Google. You know how we always do it around here. We're going to pull up the old Google. And so we're going to do documentaries and docuseries. So we're going to smash them all together, because sometimes the documentary, it's best when it's put together in about 6 or 7 or 8 parts, right? Maybe even a full season of something. So a documentary, BioWiki, I guess, is a documentary film, is a non-fictional motion picture intended to document reality, primarily for the purposes of instruction, education, or maintaining a historical record. And then it's like, okay, well, what's a docuseries then if it's multiple, right? That's a television series that follows a particular person or group of people and their involvement in real events and situations over a period of time. So basically the same thing, just mapped out in a different space. So we're looking for reality. We're looking for nonfiction. We're looking for stuff that is going to document history, and we're going to learn from it. So with that being said, I think I can fit mine in there.
Yeah. So it's always good to bring those in. It's interesting to see kind of how our Rushmores will play out. But I do like documentaries.
You do. You've mentioned this to me quite a few times. Let me touch on 2 things, because I'm not necessarily a documentary fan, but I want to tell you what I would love to have put in my documentary Rushmore, right? So as a child, my dad was all about National Geographic, all about the Discovery Channel, and all about watching the gazelle chase from the lion, and like all these different things in the Sahara, and like getting killed, and you're watching these animals happen. And I was always fascinated. Like, there's actually a guy that's in the desert taking a picture of a lion. What is wrong with this guy? Right. And so those kind of things I always love. So I was going to go back to that, and I literally typed in Discovery documentaries, and I could not find anything that, like, yeah, that's the one I saw. It was probably like different TV shows that were just animals. I mean, like, how they did things back in the 80s and 90s. The second thing is, I watch most of my documentaries. I watch pretty much a documentary every single day. I've realized this. I watch documentaries on the daily basis. But you know where I watch them? Right here on YouTube. I am a documentary YouTube fanatic, whether it's about wood or video games or whatever. That's all I watch really now. And so those are the type of documentaries I went looking for that were actually on the TV. That stuff that fits what I kind of watch all the time, but actually that I watch, whether it's streaming or whatever. And so it's going to be a really fun list. I've got a good list planned. I'm sure you've got a great list planned, and I know my guest has a great list planned. So.
Yeah. So, hey, without any further ado, let's get to our Rushmore of documentaries. All right, Rushmore Show. So let's get into our Rushmores here. And you guys know how we do this. We always bring in a guest, a friend of the show. This one is extra special this week. And Kirk, your camera has changed. What has happened? Who's joining you live in studio?
Live in studio, Rushmore Studio scene. So here is my lovely wife, Brittany, and we have decided to bring Brittany on this week, and we're going to bring your amazing wife on next week for these last 2 episodes, because my wife absolutely just thrives on documentaries. I can't stand when her Netflix account is up, because I can't find anything I want. And so I knew when we were talking about documentaries, docuseries, there's only one person I want to ask to be on the show, and that is Brittany. Now, this is Brittany's second time as well. The first time was with your wife for Valentine's, which is a great episode. Go back and check that one out.
Long time.
Rom-coms, right? And so, hey, so Brittany, tell us, was this hard?
It was horrible. It was so hard. So hard. I have probably watched thousands of documentaries. When we go on car rides for Carson's tournaments, I documentary watch. I save documentaries. I go to Netflix and save upcoming documentaries. I love all genres of documentaries. So I would pick a documentary over any movie, any series, any day of the week.
She's not good.
So to pick just 4 was a struggle, folks. It was a struggle.
So here's the thing. You've seen the show, you've been on the show, and we've got a new little a new format, if you will. Our new format is our new guests are going to start us off with our Rosie. So before we get started, you got to tell them what you were thinking on criteria, why you picked these certain ones. I know you had mentioned to me that you're only going to do some maybe in the last year that you watched. I don't know if you decided to do that or not. So tell me what you were thinking on picking your top 4, because I know you have a huge list of documentaries.
Okay, so that was my initial goal. But then as I was going through, I was like, man, but this one's so much better. And then there was this one that I watched 5 years ago. And so to be honest, guys, there's no rhyme. There's no rhyme.
So these are just the ones that are your favorites.
These are like the ones that I'm like, I would watch this more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. And some of them have like this was what got me started liking these type of documentaries.
That's kind of where I think Andy's going to go. So rewatchability.
Yes, for sure.
And the ones that pique your interest. So give us your first one.
Yes. Okay. So
Rosie.
This one. So having a bottom 4 is the toughest one, I think, right? Because it's like, it's really tough. Okay, so what I did was, since this is going to start the show off, I did it with one of the documentaries that started my love of documentaries off, and that is Blackfish.
Okay.
Have you ever heard, neither one of y'all ever heard of it?
I don't know that I know this one.
Okay, so Blackfish is it about an abused whale from SeaWorld.
Oh, I do know this one. It's
a really good movie.
Okay.
It's a really good documentary. And so that was one where I was like, wow, all these things happening. And we have one perspective of the way something is, and it's truly something else behind the scenes. And I have probably watched that one documentary like 5 times.
So I've got a funny joke or a funny story, Andy, and Rushmore community. There's times in my life where things happen. So like there's been a conversation about, hey, like, why don't we go down to Disney? Or, when we were in high school, I went to SeaWorld one time. We could maybe go to Universal and SeaWorld. And she goes, I watched this documentary on how they really abuse these fish. And I'm like, so?
It's not.
I'm like, I want to go.
It's not funny. They were so abused. One of the trainers was killed because the whale was. It's so sad, and so that is true. Our children will never participate in SeaWorld activities.
Okay. Sorry, Shamu, Mamu, and Wamu.
Shame on you.
We are not coming to hang out with you.
Shame on you.
So here you go. I have not seen this one, and in doing research, I know that this is top 10 on every list. It's one of the big hitters. It's one I haven't seen. I don't mind to see it. I mean, like, I'm not against it, but it's absolutely never going to be one that I'm like, oh, I have time today, let me watch Blackfish. I'm not going to do it. But
welcome to my world.
Wait a minute. In all fairness, for years and years and years when I was growing up, I wanted to be an oceanographer. So
that's another thing.
I do have like a true love of like ocean and sea and like that whole
I totally get that. Totally get that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was what originally piqued my interest. I don't know that would have been one otherwise that I'd be like, hey, that looks really great. There's a big whale, but it is really, really good.
Well, I totally appreciate that because I know how your brain works. And I know that those are things you've talked about a lot is being an oceanographer. And I bet you that is a really cool thing. I really love the nature type ones we kind of mentioned beforehand. When I was a kid, my dad absolutely just thrived on watching the Discovery Channel or National Geographic and watching animals. And so if I'd have seen it back then, probably with my dad, I probably would have watched something like that, Shark Week and all those things that come along. I probably would have watched this one with you. Yeah. So
it's a good one.
We maybe need to watch it.
It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Andy. Why don't you bring up your Rosie since you're at another TV studio?
We are simulcasting from multiple locations across the United States right now. I said this. I like documentaries a lot. I really do. I don't watch a ton of them, like Blackfish, like those big ones. And there's other ones that may be mentioned throughout the list today that I don't go to. But there are certain ones when I'm scrolling through Netflix or Hulu or something, and if it is something that is just jumps out at me, like nostalgia or something to do with just something that I love, I'm definitely gonna watch those. So with my criteria, I don't know if it's much of a criteria. I really kind of have 4 different genres of documentaries today.
Okay.
It's really what I'm going to talk about. And all 4 of them are very much me and, things that I like and those types of things. So my first one is really going to be kind of a I don't know, shocker. I don't even know if we've heard of this one, but I remember going to Blockbuster back in the day and renting this one and watching it with my
time out. You rented a documentary?
1,000%. 1,000%. Now
I have never. Okay, I love them. I can honestly say, Andy, I've never rented a documentary.
I went to Blockbuster and rented this, and here's why. My dad absolutely wanted to watch this documentary because it is essentially his story. It's the life he lived. My dad grew up in Southern California. He's a surfer. He's a skater. And in the year 2001, prime Blockbuster years, this Actually, in fact, I think I went to Hollywood Video to get this, so I don't even know if it was Blockbuster. If you guys remember Hollywood Video, anyway, 2001, this documentary came out called Dogtown and Z Boys, and
I love this.
Have you seen this? Okay,
I have, and I saw it at Blockbuster when I worked there.
It's a great movie. It's basically the history of skateboarding is what happened, and kind of some of those big names that came out of Southern California. Zephyr, that's Z Boys, Zephyr Boys. That was kind of that whole idea there. And it just follows all these skaters who are famous and have become famous over the years, but it really just kind of goes back to their beginnings. And it's interesting to see like how skateboarding has evolved from like, it was just like a mode of transportation, right? I mean, there was no tricks being done, no anything happening, to these people taking it into pools, into vert ramps, and just all of this stuff, kind of the history of drawing it back from surfing and how that inspired skating and everything. And so here's the thing, it's sports and it's history. It's two of those things together that I really enjoy. And then watching it with my dad and having him share stories. And my dad has said this time and time again, like, those are the people he skated with. Like, he was not part of the Z Boys, but he was part of another crew that didn't get big enough, obviously, to have a documentary made. But he was at the same skate parks. He was in the same people's backyards. He was surfing the same spots with these people. In fact, he tells this story a lot where he, when Tony Hawk gets brought up, right? Tony Hawk, greatest skater of all time, most famous, at least, skater of all time, right? He says, I just remember when Tony Hawk was a little punk kid in the neighborhood, and people just like, he was just like nothing, right? And people were like, whatever, dude, get away from me, and whatever. And now Tony Hawk blew up into this mega star, right? So it was cool. Obviously, it was something, I was never gifted with the talent to skate or do anything like that. But watching it with my dad, and my dad being able to then tell me side stories from the documentary too that aren't necessarily in it, and then be like, oh yeah, I remember this skate shop, I remember this neighborhood, I remember, it was just really cool. So Dogtown and Z Boys back in 2001 is my Rosie of documentaries. Now, Kirk, you said you've seen this.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I wasn't in the skate scene. I was more the BMX scene, but a lot of my friends were skaters, or they thought they were. I remember trying to like skate and try to hop over one other skateboard. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do any tricks, couldn't do any of that. But I remember when when I was working at Blockbuster, when I was a part of Blockbuster, they had that documentary section, and I saw it, and I was like, this is the movie that, my buddies would talk about, like the guys from the neighborhood, or, even my older friends like Paul. He loved skating, man, and talking about all those guys. But yeah, I've seen this. I've actually seen this. It is a really cool rendition, kind of showing the beginnings, kind of showing all those like almost like little miniature gangs, if you will, and all the kind of all those kids kind of hanging out. It's a cool place. I thought it was older than that. So 2001 is surprising, to be honest. I was thinking it was more like a mid 90s thing. But man, I completely forgot about that. I'm glad you thought of it.
Also narrated by Sean Penn. So
that's right.
Sean Penn is the narrator. If you guys, Spicoli,
man.
I think it's super cool. It's something that your dad could relate to and talk about, like all those side stories. Like that would be so interesting to me.
Yeah, man, you never told me that your dad skated with Tony Hawk.
Never knew that either.
That's first off, I've met your dad a few times. I can't see him skating with Tony Hawk.
I got to show you old pictures of my dad. My dad had hair. My dad had hair for sure.
I have to see him.
Yeah, so it was cool stories, man. It's fun stuff. My dad's actually has, his sister, I think, has old like skating magazines from like the early 80s, maybe late 70s, where like my dad's actually in pictures, and like not maybe the feature, but like he's in it. And yeah, it's really cool.
Man,
I wonder if I can find that.
I need to have his own board or something.
He's an unlockable character on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 40.
That would be dope. That'd be dope. Who's this? Ricketts.
Yeah. No, but anyway, there you go. So I love that.
Nice. Well, that's a good start for Rosie, going kind of nostalgic for both of you guys in one way or another. I guess this is nostalgic for me too, but it's not in the same ways. I don't have any like really personal ties to it, except I just love this. Criteria wise, let's see. Criteria wise, I mentioned already, I'm not a huge fan of documentaries, but if they are in a certain topic or subject, I'll actually want to binge watch them, if you will, especially docuseries that stays locked in on some kind of athlete or something that really makes me happy. But number one, when I was going through the criteria, I pulled up best documentaries ever or something like that, and I found absolutely none that I cared about. Like none. I was like, nah, this isn't what I'm looking for. So then I went best documentaries in the last 15 years, and there was a few there, but I was like, okay, let's look it up like this: sports documentaries, war documentaries, nerdy or geeky documentaries, music documentaries, and I think that was about it. Maybe one or two more, but I was kind of searching that way, and they just kept boom, boom, boom. I was like, yes, that, yes, that, yes, that. Oh, movies documentaries. I love those. So I'm going to start off, Rosie, pretty easy. We have a whole month geared to this. Back in June, video games, and I'm going with High Score from Netflix, 6-part episodes. The minute it came out, I watched all 6 back to back to back to back. I'm pretty sure Brittany was sleeping because she does not even care the neither of any of them. But it was about video games. It's about the beginnings of video games. Episode 1 was very much the beginnings and how all that happened. I think episode 2 was kind of following some of those Nintendo World Championship guys, kind of the guys that, like, they made the movie Wizard about, like all those kind of type of folks that were kind of doing that. And then it went into a little bit of a different realm. It was going through the console battle and then the first fighting games. They talked a whole episode about that. RPGs, that episode was like my favorite because when you go to video games, most people aren't, well, I say most people, there's a select crew of people that love role-playing games. And I remember when I first started liking them, my parents thought I was in a cult and I was Dungeons and Dragons, and they thought I was going to, not go to heaven. But I really love those. I love getting enthralled in those. And there was a whole thing of like how those started, like back when the computer was, you actually typed in words, turn left, open chest, like those kind of games, like word games that I was like amazed by. And then it finishes off from when it goes to 2D to 3D, if I remember correctly. That's like all 6 episodes. It came out only a couple years ago, I think 2020. But it is awesome. And there was a bunch of other video games that I wanted to put on here. This was my favorite one. This is the one that kind of just had a little bit of everything. And honestly, we talk about rewatchability. I don't usually rewatch things anymore, but I would rewatch this because I feel like there's, like, every time you watch, there's a new, like, every time an episode would come on, there's a new bit of nostalgia, that feeling that you get like, oh, I missed that, or maybe I wasn't paying attention or whatever. And this is, it's just one of my favorites. High Score on Netflix. So that's my Rosie.
To me, I don't understand how I have like 20,000 documentaries on my Netflix, and that one just never managed to make the cut. Sounds terrible.
The algorithm is not working for that one for you.
I don't know if the algorithmm's broke or Kirk's taste in documentaries is broke, but something's not right.
Hey, let me just tell you this, Brittany. That's 2 against 1 because that was a Benjamin. Almost made mine. I actually last week watched it.
Dude, it's so good.
It was right there. It's so good. I love in the beginning when they show like the actual drawings of the Space Invaders, like pixel, like.
Dude, now we're geeking out. Like, yes.
Anyway.
That
my geek star is peaking right now.
She would have really hated it if I would have actually become a video game designer.
I'm so glad you were.
We were going into that, and she would have been really in trouble. But anyways,
yeah, it's okay.
Well, all right. So there's our Rosie. No Crushmores in the first round. Blackfish and Dogtown
and Z Boys, yeah,
and Z Boys and High Score. So that's a really good start. So where are we going with your TJ Jazzy Jeff?
Ooh, this one's hard. Okay, so this is another one that I watched a while ago, and I do love like cults, like religion type,
especially now that we've been saved.
Yes.
She's like, I need to learn about all these other crazy people.
Wacko.
I mean, some of them, it's just really intriguing and interesting to me to see like how, and I don't want to say easy because I feel like that's insulting, but like how did people buy into some of this stuff? Like how did people really like, how are they that convincing? So the documentary that is for me would be, it's called Going Clear, and it's like Scientology and beyond. And I believe it started off with one long one, and then Leah Remini came in and did this like Scientology and the aftermath type thing, and that was so interesting to me. Like people literally did these crazy tests, and they lived on a ship, and they thought all these weird, crazy. It is just mind blowing. And what's even more mind blowing to me is all of the movie stars who are so bought into this.
Yeah.
You know, and actually in Slidell, right around the corner from my mom's house and your parents' house was like this looked like a little house, but it was like a Scientology church.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. So that's a good one, folks. Yeah. That one's very interesting. Love that.
So let me jump in. Like, I remember when she was watching this. I mean, I'd rather watch her on King of Queens or whatever, but yeah, I mean, I watched episodes of this, and it is really good. It is really good. It's not something that holds my interest for the whole thing, but I understand why people would love this. It's very intriguing. It's very educational. There's a lot of things when it comes to Scientology and other kind of religious,
right?
Even Christianity. I mean, I didn't even put a Christianity documentary on here, and there are so many really good ones. Just to learn a lot about the historical things that happen, and so you can kind of see that rabbit hole that happens. And this is a really good one. It's one I recommend. It's very highly touted, and it's very relevant. I mean, there is a lot of. It's been backed up.
Right. Well, and even like throughout the documentary, they're videoing, and there's current members of Scientologists, like current Scientologists that are like actively trying to ruin the people's lives that leave. Like, like it's just like, it's a.
So
Andy, so you reacted to that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was watching it not too long ago, maybe a month or so ago. I was watching it, and I remember I was at home by myself watching it. And I kept feeling like I had to look over my shoulder.
Yes.
And I'm like, should I be watching this? Somebody like, I don't know why, but it is interesting. And it's like, I will say this. I don't think I watched the actual documentary. I started watching the series with her. Okay. And maybe if I watched the documentary, I'd have a better understanding. But I felt like they just jumped into it and had no explanation of like they were like the C Corps and the this and the this. And then I'm like, wait, what's happening? So, and I have some understanding of that, you know, I kind of whatever, but anyway, I didn't realize there was a documentary before.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the documentary, it talks about Hubbard and how it all got started, and you know, some of his history, and then all the levels that they go through and how it grew to what it was. I watched that one first and then hers, and it is
I know the place you're talking about, the Christian Science thing or whatever. There's a sign on the road. Yeah, anyway, it's crazy.
Right.
I have a funny story. When I was a kid, you know, they would play that Dianetics freaking commercial with the lava all shooting out, and then had the book and by Hubbard and all that. My dad had that book in our bathroom magazine reader, and there was times where I would just open it up and like read pieces of it, and that book is weird,
crazy.
It's crazy weird. Like, it's not nothing that I would follow.
I'm like, didn't Norlis have that?
I'm like, why is this in here? What? Like, it's just Ron L. Hubbard, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
Ron L. Yeah. So yeah. Dianetics. It had like
it is,
freaking, because you know it's just casual reading. You got Sports Illustrated,
casual reading. It was in my also with a couple other. That goes to my dad. He loved Discovery Channel. He loved National Geographic. He loved documentaries. He loved this kind of stuff. He loved learning about the pyramids and all these different things. you know,
Illuminati. Yeah.
Just a side note, and we've talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about this on the Rushmore show, but we have talked about this in circles, Andy. My dad didn't graduate school. Like he dropped out in 8th grade. So books and things like that he wasn't like a big reader, but he was like like he wanted to learn different facts. He loved facts. He was like a factologist, right? And like he was useless facts. I guess that's where I get it from. But he had that book. And I never put 2 and 2 together until this documentary. And I said, I've heard that name, Ron L. Hubbard, before. And I went and looked it up. I remember while you were watching, I was like Googling, and I'm like, wait, that book was in my bathroom.
I read that when I was 10.
Yeah. So anyways.
Jeez.
All right. Andy, what's your TJ?
All right. So I love music.
Of course you do.
I mean, that's obvious, right? We had Music March. That was like living my best life during that month. It was so fun. It was great. Even talked about it through nostalgia and all kinds of stuff. So I love music. So I was like, I got to find a documentary that is based around music. And this may or may not be the one that you would think that I would pick, because there's a lot of really good music documentaries, rockumentaries, and all kinds of stuff, right? But mine is one that I've watched relatively recent, and I'm glad that Brittany, you went with Scientology, because I'm actually going to clean the show up a little bit, and I'm going to get saved. Okay, so here we go. I am talking about, there's a documentary on Hulu. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It's called Jesus Music. It is really cool.
That is good.
So what it does is it just basically, okay, so I have Dogtown and Z-Boys, talks about the history of skateboarding. This is the history. This is how contemporary Christian music came to be. And it goes way back to the beginning in the 70s when the hippies were tired of, like, they're just telling stories about how, like, they could only do so many drugs, and they were tired of that whole thing. So they wanted something different, and basically launched this whole new wave of Jesus music movement is what it was called. And in fact, there's actually a movie that I think is in production right now. The guy who plays Jesus on the Chosen series is playing like one of the main guys. Anyway, but it's something I'm looking forward to. But this documentary is really cool. So basically, it's just the history of that. It traces it through the 70s. It goes into Christian metal, Striper, and different things like that. It goes into like the 90s music. One of the main ones in there, and this is just kind of a cool story. Amy Grant is featured a lot in this documentary. And it even kind of goes in when she started doing her like a little bit more mainstream secular, I guess, music and things like that. But there's this one thing, it's just funny, kind of shows how like we think about Christian music now as just like this huge industry and everything, and it is. But when Amy Grant, I think it was like early on in her career, she was offered to go play somewhere. I think maybe it was on TV, or maybe it was just like a big concert or something. And they told her how much she was going to get paid. And I'll just throw a number, like $1 million, or it was like, I don't know, it was some amount of money or whatever. And she had it in her mind that, oh, I have to raise that to come do this. No, we're paying you this much money. Like, you're going to get paid to do this music. And she shares that story. And that my details are probably way off with the amounts, but it just kind of goes to show, like, it was nothing. It was just a bunch of like ragtag old hippies that started this whole thing. And then it actually goes through like controversy through the times. It's got, it goes all the way up to like Toby Mac and Lecrae and things like that. And even starts getting into, I think, Lauren Daigle's in it. So even really, really contemporary. If you haven't watched it, if you're a fan of Christian music, it's a really cool, just continues to go through, and it shows the evolution of everything. And I really like it. So it's on Hulu. It's called Jesus Music. You guys watch that one?
That one sounds, no, I have not seen that. And I'm going to make you so very, very sad, Andy, but there is not a single music documentary in my list. Nor, okay. I'm trying to, like, in my mind, think of some really good, like, music. I don't know that I've ever really by choice watched one.
Well,
which is so sad, because I know
I can tell you this, Andy, I haven't seen this one, but I have seen it in the feed. In the feed, I've seen it. So I know which one you're talking about. And again, documentaries just aren't my jam. And probably if I was going to look at music ones, this wouldn't have been it. I was thinking you're going Kissology, bro. I wrote it down. I was like, he's going Kiss.
See, but I think this is one like now hearing you explain it that I would watch.
Yeah.
I would totally watch this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might check this one out. The one thing that I mentioned in the pre-show, like, I mean, before we get started, it going through the list and trying to learn, like, see which ones. There were a lot that came up that I want to watch, and I know that I'm interested in. And so maybe this might be one I have to put on the list.
There you go, Jesus music.
Documentary date night.
Oh man, see what we've started here, Rushmore Show. You guys are getting me in trouble. Okay, so I watch yours, you watch mine.
That's a fair trade.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. I will watch that video game if you watch Big Fish.
Not. All right, she will not. No.
Well, let's see. Is she gonna like your TJ Jazzy Jeff?
Probably not.
She might actually like my TJ Jazzy Jeff.
Okay.
She might. Actually, she will.
Okay.
She will. And yeah. So my TJ Jazzy Jeff is probably next to my family and Jesus, my favorite thing in the world.
Oh, I know what it is.
I'm going with none other than a documentary on my Yankees.
I knew it.
The Captain.
So
the
good.
Derek Jeter story that just came out. I just watched. I basically binge watched it. It's on ESPN, and it documents basically the run from the 90s to where he is now, which is basically, I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, especially at my age, when he made that, when Derek Jeter started his run, was in the early 90s. I was in high school, and I've watched now 6 championships and several other American League championships. At the time of this video, the game just got rained out, and I noticed that we changed pitchers, and I hope that's not a mistake. But we got Nasty Nestor going on the hill tomorrow to send the Indians home. Oh, by the way, Paul, how are the Braves doing?
Oh,
I am having a very bad day. I am in no mood.
Oh, so yeah, that didn't work out so well. So hopefully
we love you, Paul. We love you, Paul.
Yeah, I love you, Paul.
Whatever Kirk says.
I love you.
Remember, I love you, Paul.
But anyways, hopefully tomorrow we get the win. But look, let's go back to the documentary. It starts with him kind of going through high school, being an interracial kid.
He's a biracial angel.
And that is really important to kind of see that thing happen up in Michigan. And then he leaves from there. He gets drafted by the Yankees. You see the phone call and him going, I mean, I got goosebumps when I was watching this. And then he leaves from there, and he was supposed to go to University of Michigan. He ended up going through the minor league system, and they call him up, and I think it was 94 or 95. They call him up, and he struggles. He's struggling bad on the minor league circuit. He's doing terrible. They bring him up, and he does terrible. And that's the year Don Mattingly, my favorite player, retires, kind of mentors him, talks with him. And the next year he starts the season on the full man roster. And that's 1996. That starts the run, my senior year. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life as far as sports go. So then you watch him go through that, but then you watch him go through a little bit parts of the dynasty, even losing his kind of up and down relationship with A-Rod and some other things that have been happening. And then the last episode actually takes kind of a turn. It talks about him and his wife, which, if you know Derek, he was kind of a playboy, if you will. He had all kinds of girls throughout his career, and but he never would settle down. He didn't have kids. He retires at 40, gets married, and has kids. Mm-hmm. And so it talks about how his wife struggled to have kids, and then it goes on to talk about him buying a partial of the Marlins, which is funny now. He's not a part of the Marlins anymore, which there's a kind of a little nod that he might be joining the Yankees staff, which will be cool next season. So anyways, Derek Jeter is in my Rushmore of favorite players of all time, my favorite thing of all time. It's on my Rushmore, my favorite team of all time, the whole thing. I mean, I live and breathe this when it's not my family. Like I literally watch 162 games if I can. and she can attest to this.
True story.
So the captain, ESPN, is going to be my TJ Jazzy Jeff. I almost made it my George. I almost did. I really did.
So Kirk, I don't know if you've ever made this clear on the show. So if you haven't, what's your favorite baseball team?
The Boston Red Sox.
What did he say?
That's a clip. That's a clip. We're
I
saving
swear
it.
you'll
It's
never-
recorded. No, obvious. Yeah. So
I probably would have watched that, and the only reason I haven't is because you said it's on ESPN. I don't generally go look on ESPN for documentaries.
Yeah,
so
it's fantastic.
I would have watched that. I totally would have watched that.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I have not watched it. Listen, here's the thing. You said it's new, right? Or maybe you just watched it.
Yeah, it actually matter of fact, when we were in when we were visiting your aunt this last time. In Florida, the episode 2 came out.
St. Augustine.
So
it is new.
The last time I talked to you, episode 2 had just come out because I watched it in Florida.
That's a put off for me too, though, is I don't want to watch episode 1 and wait for episode 2.
Well, now they're all out.
Okay.
Now they're all out, and I watched them as they came out, but now they're all out.
I'm not super patient.
There's 7 episodes, 2022. So yeah,
I would totally.
This is a cool one. All right.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that one, but there's a million sports documentaries. It's insane how many there are. So good pick.
All right, so it's your turn. We're halfway through the mountain. This is when we're going to take our commercial break. We'll be back after these.
After this.
This man needs help. His baby mama put him out and he ain't got no furniture.
Let him have it.
Boss lady, this man need a bed. And all he can afford is $69 a month. How you gonna get another one without a bed?
Come on, baby.
This man need a TV for his bedroom. All he can afford is $59 a month. You know he got all them children.
73 inches, baby.
Boss lady, this man needs air conditioning. It's hot on the street and he only can pay $49 a month.
I'll cool him down, baby.
No money down, no credit check, all the time.
What's that?
Do you have insurance on this car?
No.
It must be Eagle Man.
I've got something for you.
Oh, look at those low rates.
Okay, Rushmore community, thank you to all our sponsors. We are looking for the check in the mail, but we are going to get started with the second half of our Rushmore show, and Brittany has a riveting documentary that we're going to talk about. What is your link?
Riveting. Okay, so my link is a very intense documentary.
Wait, I want to let you guys know. We did not discuss. She tried to see my list all day. Look, I got it covered with my phone. Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute.
So I'm
Can we be fair? I have trouble deciding like what color pen to write in, and you want me to make a definitive decision on 4 of my favorite documentaries out of the thousands.
So this is a very important day in history. We might have a documentary on the Rushmore Show one day. This is going to be marked down on it. Here we go.
All right. So my link is Tiger King.
Oh my.
Tiger King.
It is like a train wreck. You can't stop watching it. It is like, is this real life? Are these people real? Did this really happen? And then the poor freaking tigers. Like, they're just victims in this whole situation. And then they came out with another one. I did not watch the second one, the new one where people are talking about the Tiger King. He's in prison, jail, whatever. I have to admit, I started, couldn't watch it. But the original one, it's you just have to watch it.
I don't have to watch it. This is one thing I don't have to do. I don't have to watch
Andy,
this.
have you seen it?
Okay, here's the deal. I never watched it, and it's a principle now. I told myself I'm not gonna do it. I won't watch it. I've seen the memes. I've heard the songs and the TikToks and whatever. I'm not doing it. I refuse to now. Carol Baskins, that whole
she definitely killed her husband.
Exactly, and that's what everyone says.
You
And
have to
sure it
watch it
happened.
just for the sake of the show, just for the sake of research for the Rushmore Show.
See, here's the
you
thing.
should watch it.
Here's the thing. My wife loves trends.
Hey, man.
You do. You love trends. You
There's
love trends.
nothing wrong with
You
that.
love a good discount and you love a good trend.
A trend.
Yeah,
Give me an example.
Tiger King. Tiger King was trending, and she saw it on social media. People watching
I
it.
did not see it on social media. It came in my recommended.
Right, and it's sitting there in the recommended.
Because it was
sitting
trending.
there, and it's going Tiger King, and you're like, I don't want to watch this. Look at this guy; he looks extremely weird. I don't want to watch this. And all of a sudden, social media, Tiger King's amazing. Tiger King's this, and you're like, oh, I just saw that in my feed. Let's go watch it. And I walk in and I see these two just.
It's a debacle. It really
debacle
is.
of men
Yes.
chasing tigers around with this. Like, I'm like, what in the trailer park are we watching? And I walked in and I was like, I can't with you. What do you have on the TV? And they're like, this is that Tiger King thing they're talking about. And I go, now I know why I'm not watching this.
I would not recommend it for younger viewers. Okay. You have to take it with a grain of salt. It's like you can't. It's so ridiculous. You can't help but watch it.
This makes us, as a human race, and a Caucasian person look really bad.
Hey, man, look, I was really concerned about the tigers. That's what it was. I wanted to know.
You're worried about fish. You're worried about tigers.
Whales. Worried about.
There's a trend here.
We're worried about science. We're worried about science.
Yes, it all links back together.
Yes. All right, Rushmore Show. How many of you guys have watched Tiger King? How many
look,
of you
a lot of them
like it.
Be honest.
And let's see if it's one of your top four.
No shame. No judgment.
shame.
No
I
shame.
can almost
Tiger King.
guarantee it's going to be in the comments.
I know it's going to be in the
It was
comments.
a
I'm gonna love it.
cultural
I'm here for
phenomenon.
it. I support it.
As much as it trended, like during COVID, that was it. See, COVID, we were extremely bored. We couldn't find anything to do. And they're like, it's only 6 episodes.
We were vulnerable.
And y'all got sucked in.
All
y'all got sucked in.
We needed something
to this.
Wasn't there like a country song? Aren't they like country singers too or something?
No, I don't.
No?
I don't.
Maybe that was a meme. I don't even know. I don't even know it's real anymore.
I don't even know.
Well, then don't watch it because then you'll really question what's real.
Tiger King.
Yeah.
Tiger King. I do like tigers. I like ligers as well.
Oh, nice.
Man.
My favorite mythical creature.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
wait.
Link.
All
right. So Link, Andy, where are you going?
So we didn't mean for this to happen. But like the last pick, Brittany, that you made, you did you had this cult, and I was like, okay, well, let's bring it to Christianity. This one, you brought up some crazy animal stuff, and you know what? I'm going to bring you guys a sane animal documentary. Okay. And I'm just going to go. This one, listen. I changed it. Let me say this. Before the recording of this, and when we were talking, this was my George till probably about 15 minutes ago, because I'm just thinking about it, and my George is my George for sure. But this one's great, and this really kind of like it just really started my real love for documentaries. I mean, this is not as old as the Dogtown and Z-Boys one. I did watch that one, but I loved that one. I didn't get into documentaries after that. This one, I wanted to keep watching more and more and more. And really what drew me in is the cinematography, just how amazing it looks. This came out in 2006. I bought the DVD set. I bought this. I had this, and it's Planet Earth. Planet Earth is so good. If you haven't watched it, essentially what it is it's just a nature documentary, and it kind of goes through the cycle of life and everything, and just amazing things that happen. But the just how amazing it looks. Like the cinematography, like I said, just like how many years they spent filming this stuff and getting the perfect shots. But every episode is essentially exploring a different habitat, right? Like, so there's like a deep sea one. And okay, just like you, Brittany, like not an oceanographer, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I had no idea what that meant. I loved going to the aquarium as a kid, and I loved always watching all of the shark stuff and the sea and all that kind of stuff. So Any of the deep sea ones, like when they go way down there where it's like black and there's like these alien looking fish that are like clear and see through, and you're like, what the heck is happening here? So they have episodes with that. They have the snow, they have the rainforest. One of the greatest episodes, if you haven't seen it, is the birds of paradise, and you get to see like these like, you know, and as I'm watching it, okay, not to get spiritual here, but I will, as I'm watching it early, like I wasn't saved back then, but then you see it now and you're like, golly, I mean, like the creation is just so beautiful and crazy, and just like all of this is just, it's amazing to see. And then, you know, the whole time you've got the narration that's going behind it, which is always kind of cool. I think this came from a British series too, so they have a British one out there too. But after this, there's, you know, and even before this, but there's nature documentaries, kind of like sports documentaries. They're all over the place. There's 1.5 million of them, right? And but this one in particular really is the one that kind of drew me in. I don't know, like there's even times now where I'll put like an episode on or something, and I don't have to be like way into it. I can be, but it can just be on and I can be having conversation, and it's so awesome to just look at. It's visually stunning. It's amazing. So Planet Earth, my link, again, was almost my George, and was for until about 15-20 minutes ago, but I love it. You guys,
I have watched a couple of them. It's one of those that I would put on in the background. There was a point in time where Cannon had trouble falling asleep, and so I would lay down with him and put that on. And
well, it wasn't that.
Well, no, but like
similar. So you know the line of
it wasn't that
animal documentaries that Disney has.
Disney Plus, yeah.
And when Disney Plus came out, it had that section, and we would play whether it's the lion one, the monkey one, the red elephant one, the red panda, whatever.
It was just,
that's what she's thinking.
And it was super interesting to watch it. I didn't have to be completely immersed in it, but it was something that it was interesting.
Now, the funny thing about those is how they like name the characters, and like they're running around, all the animals are running around. Like, look, there goes, you know, Andrew, the whatever. And anyways,
but I have seen that one. I have seen a couple of those, and I do agree. It is like you're in awe. It's breathtaking.
So Planet Earth is, when that came out, I just didn't get it. I'm like, it's great cinematography. You're right. And what I had to look it up while you were talking. It reminds me of The Tree of Life. If you've seen that 2011 film, just the filming is just fantastic. And I've actually, this is blockbuster time, I rented both of those because people were like, oh, this is amazing. And I was like, I feel like I'm like just watching a bunch of homemade video with like the best camera ever, like out in the woods or something. I was like, I don't know. It wasn't as educational, I guess, as I wanted it to be, but those, it's one of like the most acclaimed like piece of film in history.
Yeah.
Right. Like they did so well with how they put it together. I remember that. Was it a BBC thing?
Yeah. So originally BBC, and then I think like Discovery Channel or somebody.
Right.
You know,
and so I think it was a BBC thing. But it was probably about 6 or so DVDs, right? It was
it was a big set.
I remember it. Yeah, this is a good one. It's not one that I had thought of. And I'm not hating on it. I know that this as far as film goes, I mean, there's probably people that do film studies or are in film school that actually study this stuff. Now, my question was, and you mentioned it, and then I'll let you chat. You said, you know, when you watched it back then and then when you watch it now, my question was, does the film hold up? Because, you know, we like talked about Cobb's British show the other day, you know, and we were like, yeah, everything's in brown. That's, you know, 15 years ago or whatever it came out. I was just wondering, now that we're 4K, what it looks like now watching on our TVs, if it's still as good.
Yeah, to me, I think it still holds up. I think it just maybe not, you know, maybe some things have surpassed it, but it is still watchable now and still just amazing, because it's not even just the quality of everything, it's the shots that they're getting. It's those that high-speed camera that like sees things over time lapse stuff, and it just, everything's really cool, man. Even the British one, like BBC, and I said this,
you don't like British TV, but you like this.
I don't, but I will tell you this. You know what I do love? The British are really good at doing narration in like nature documentaries, because there's nothing like turning it on and just hearing, "Look at the wildebeest in his natural habitat." And I just, it's so good. It's so good. It's
freaking Gandalf like, telling us all about
right. Yeah. You shall not pass, Moccasin. Like what? It's really cool. So I like it. I like it.
All right. So hey, look, you guys know me. I'm always off the beaten path. I'm geeky. I'm nerdy, and a lot of people, when they see me, they don't believe it. But this is what I'm into.
Believe it.
Believe it. And we talked about. Okay, so a couple weeks ago we had Jason Knupp on our show. Doing cartoons, and I mentioned this documentary then, and I'm going to kind of smash two together. But on Netflix, there is a series called This Is the That Made Us, and I'm going with the movies and the toys that made us. They're both together. I'm slamming them together as one, but the blank that made us, because it's all basically done by the same folks. And the toys that made us as 12 episodes, and the movies that made us are 16 episodes so far. There's 3 seasons of each. For some reason, the movie one in the last season doubled up and hit us with 8. And I think they're like all like basically horror movies like Halloween and Alien. But watching these, I mean, this is my childhood. Like, I love the Goldbergs. You saw me put the Goldbergs as my sitcom. If you go back and watch, I love all 80s things. We talk about there's just so much I love about my childhood and wanting to see my kids go that. And when I watch these movies, it brings me right back to 1985, back to 1987. And then seeing how these movies were made and how these toys came to life is just a big deal for me. I mean, we actually watched a few together. We watched Dirty Dancing. We did watch that one, right? And I mean, so we watched Dirty Dancing, but they have, I mean, everything from Ghostbusters and I don't remember all the movies completely, but I know Halloween and Alien and I want to say Goonies or some like there were so many good ones. And then the toys, those are really easy, right? They had a couple of girl ones like Barbie and whatever, but it was G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles. They have all those out there. This is my favorite type of documentary. I will watch these 7 times. I'll rewatch them. I'll rewatch them again. I can't wait for season 4. And when you said you were going to watch stuff with me, these are the ones I know you're not going to watch.
I will.
No, you won't watch the toy ones.
Okay. I did not remember the name of that documentary, but I did talk to someone not that long ago and was talking about like how interesting and how cool watching the Dirty Dancing one was, because I love that movie. Mm-hmm. That was on I think that was on my Rushmore. When we were talking about, but it was really cool to watch these movies that, you know, like from your childhood or younger years, that you like see all this and then to hear like the backstory behind. I
like how they struggled to do it. They were lacking food, the lift in the
40 degrees.
Yeah. Hold the temperature.
It was really cool.
Now the movie one was really cool because you got to see the making of, and which I always, some of my favorite things about getting a DVD back in the day was to see the making of. Most of you guys throw that disc away. I love that disc to see how that happened. But the toy ones, I would have never known those things if it wasn't for this type of show, like how Lego came about. And I know you love Lego, Andy, how the Power Rangers started as a Japanese show and they changed it and they modified it to make it American. I would have never known any of that. And that kind of stuff right there is just, I don't know. It's useless knowledge, but it makes me happy. I watch and I like get giddy. This is one of my favorites. I
probably watch some of those otherwise, just they were going along in the stream of what we were watching. But I will say there were some that were really cool to like hear. Like you said, like the Lego thing, I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Now, Andy, I know you've mentioned this, and I kind of saw your face when I brought it up. You forgot it or something, didn't you?
No, you took it from my Benjamins.
Oh,
I have
okay.
to
Okay.
eliminate it.
All right. So I
There.
took it from the bennies. Cool. So there you go. You can't have that. So I know you like this. I know you like it. We've talked about it.
Absolutely love it. You know what? I didn't watch the movies one, but the toys one for sure. I was all about, and actually that was the one that was on my Benjamins. The toys that made us just.
Courtney would love the movies one.
Yeah. It's
especially
awesome.
the Dirty Dancing one. She would love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some like girly
that.
movies, but all the movies are basically set in the 80s, right? It's all those movies. You know, I can't remember them all completely because there's 16 of them. But I mean, like Ghostbusters, that one was awesome. I mean, like how they you know did the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and watch all that kind of stuff happen. It was really cool. So, anyways, there's my link. That's me, and now it's time for George.
Oh, okay. So
you have to pick one.
I know. Well, I'm not. I'm gonna pick two.
Oh, you're gonna pick.
Y'all are both cheating. You picked two.
Okay, wait. They go together.
Mine go together too.
They go together.
But they're just different. Different series.
Mine aren't different though.
It's my Rushmore.
Okay, so I've kind
it's
of
like it's like picking Teddy and FDR. I mean, they're both Roosevelts. I mean, throw them in there.
Okay, whatever. Fair enough.
Okay, so what have I done? I did animals. I did religion. I did just off the wall. Okay, so I love war documentaries, like true military type of documentaries. Love them, but these two, and they go together. The same director did both of them, and it was Restrepo and Korengal, and it is live. It's live footage from the actual like being there, engaging in fighting and stuff, and it's walks through this whole time with all of these soldiers who are in like this. I mean, it's insane. They're in there and they're in like this very dangerous enemy territory. And it's like, you kind of get in, like you get attached to these guys. You're like, wow, you know, like it's not, you hear all these documentaries and you hear about all this stuff that happens after the fact, but to actually see like live footage of them engaging in, you know, fighting, you know, with the enemy and stuff is really, you know, like gripping. And so those two, I still to this day, I probably watched them. Gosh, I can't remember when it came out. I'll have Kirk look it up.
So Korengal came out in 2014, and Restrepo, they're both done by the same folks.
Yes.
Restrepo came out in 2010, so 2010 is the original one.
And
but they're both about
the
same guys,
yes.
and they're both about the war in Afghanistan.
Right, and it follows them in two
they're kind of like
deployments.
1-2. It's kind of like 1-2.
It follows them in two different deployments, but I still to this day, and I watched it right when it came out, I still to this day use those two documentaries as searches for other documentaries.
Nice.
It's really good.
So I don't know that I've seen this one with you.
No, I don't think so.
I watch a lot of, I'll just say this. When I was in the military, especially right when I was in it and coming out of it, I watched everything military.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get disappointed if, you know, like I missed a movie that was military, and actually some of them disappointed me because I watched them, but most of them were really awesome. And then we kind of got on a kick watching things from Middle East and, you know, whether it was, you know, movies like Three Kings or the Body Double one where they did
SEAL
that,
Team
right?
6,
SEAL Team 6 or all those
Black
kind of
Hawk
things,
Down.
which those are all really amazing. But the documentaries, and I've seen bits and pieces of these stuff with it, and honestly, I've gotten a little away from it. But every time I go back, I get emotional. I think, you know, not PTSD type emotional. I'm not there. But you just kind of think about some of the people you did that with and hang out with, and some of the scenes. And it was war was crazy.
Yeah, I think part of my interest in it was obviously you were there. And
so I wasn't in Afghanistan.
No.
Rushmore Show. I was in Kirkuk, not Kirkuk, Iraq, for about Almost 6 months, 5 months, right? So I was there. So
well, and I mean, we were fortunate enough to have a lot of communication with you, but there were things that we just didn't talk a whole lot about. And so I think that was part of what piqued my interest a lot, was just, knowing where you had gone. And by the time this came out, it was years after you had been, after the deployment, and you had been out of the military and things like that. But I do think that there's like, wow, like those guys are going through that and then they turn around and go home. Like if they go home, and when they do go home, like that stuff really happened. And so I tell you what, it's incredible, but there's some things that are tough to watch.
It's tough to watch. Yeah. That is tough to watch.
But that is definitely my George.
Nice.
Sorry, I went heavy there, but it's so good.
I have not seen those or heard of them, honestly, until you just said them. So I'll have to put them on my list of things.
They're really
watch at some point. There's a long list. Let me just say this. We said this. There's a long list of things that in researching them, because I like documentaries, that I'm just like, I need to watch these, right? Or they look interesting. So I don't know how feasible my list is, but
there's actually one right now that just came out on HBO Max it's a documentary about them pulling the troops, and it's interviewing the troops that were there and footage. And I have to be honest, I haven't emotionally worked myself up, but like I watched the trailer and I think I have to emotionally prepare myself to watch it. Does that make sense? Like I haven't yet, but yeah, that one looks tough. Tough. It looks good, but it looks tough.
There you go. All right. So you guys have been cheating and putting 2 documentaries. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bring us back in order here. You went really deep on that one, Brittany.
I know. I'm sorry,
I'm
but
gonna go lighthearted.
So
I'm gonna go very lighthearted. You guys know me.
I like it. Let's lighten it up.
I rarely. Well, let me say this. There are times while I'll watch movies and I'll cry or I'll tear up and things. It's just, like you get so connected to characters and, storylines and plot and, that kind of stuff. And you just you get so invested in it. This documentary, I teared up because you're saying
you're going lighthearted. What?
But here's why. Not because it's sad, not because it's deep and dark or anything, because it's me. It's my childhood. It's just like, when Kirk, you love nostalgia. You love it. We had a whole month where next week is nostalgia. We're fitting in more nostalgia. We're gonna do it again.
That's his hot button word.
It's a great word and it's a great feeling. It's a great place to be, is in nostalgia. And this documentary brought me right back to my childhood. And it had to make my list. And the more I thought about it, it's a runaway George for me, and I'm going to go 2018, The Orange Years, the Nickelodeon story is, y'all, I'm not even lying. You wrote it, you knew where I was going. And I text you about this, and I watched it pretty recently, and I texted you, Kirk, and I said, I'm tearing up right now. I mean, it's so good.
Dude,
all it is
it's on my Benjamins.
3/4 of mine are the story of this and its evolution in the history.
Brittany doesn't know this, but after you sent me that, I watched it while we were in bed. She was sleeping and I was crying next to her. I was like, this is so freaking good. This is so freaking good.
I'm going heavy and y'all are crying over Nickelodeon.
Dude, yes, because it might be
the best blast from the past you've ever seen.
That's cool though.
It's really good. So it's the story of Nickelodeon. You know what? But prior to this, now growing up 90s, that just, being a kid through the 90s and everything, Nickelodeon was where it was at. It just, cultural, just, it was like every kid I wanted to be was those kids that you saw on Nickelodeon in the shows. Like I wanted to be, and everybody's name was Max, right? Or whatever. Anyway, like the 90s, Max was just the name with 2 X's. Anyway, no, but you wanted to be that kid. I wanted to be on the shows with the slime, and I wanted to be Danny Tamborelli, and it was just amazing on all that. But what it does is it just traces the history of Nickelodeon. it actually educated me because, you know, again, I grew up in the orange years of Nickelodeon, but there was a pre-orange years of Nickelodeon, and it kind of shows some of the old footage of
That's where I grew up at.
Of some of that stuff. And I'm like, I don't even understand how people got through that stuff. Like Pinwheel.
Yeah, I remember you were making fun of Pinwheel. That's ridiculous.
Pinwheel looks crazy. But then Nickelodeon figured it out and started putting together some good stuff. And anyway, they went into this era, the orange years, and they trace back, you know, it's all that. You've got Hey Dude, you know, you've got
you get the 3 cartoons, man.
You get the big 3 cartoons. You get Ren and Stimpy, Doug, and Rugrats back to back to back. The first 3 cartoons that Nickelodeon put out original were those 3. I mean, it's amazing. And
Aggro Crag.
And Global Guts, right? I mean, I could go on. Hey Dude, right? Yeah, all of these shows, Pete and Pete, like. So salute your shorts. I mean, I could just keep going on. Camp on Awana, we hold you in our hearts, and when we think about you, it makes me want to fart. Anyway, I love it. It's my childhood, and just seeing all this stuff. I loved it so much that I made Courtney watch it again with me, and I think I teared up again.
Did she love it as much as you loved it?
I like to think she did.
Did you cry?
She did love it. I don't think she cried, but she did really like it. So we did watch that one. But yeah, and then really what it does is it follows that, and it kind of shows at the end how Nickelodeon kind of got away from some of that stuff and how they changed. And not necessarily that it was a bad thing. It was, you know, an evolution that needed to happen, right, to continue. And it was like the shutdown of the Nickelodeon studios and everything. And it's like this really like RIP moment. But it's just so cool. It's so good. If you have not watched it, please, and you're a 90s kid and you haven't done this, please go watch it. And I know you're going to enjoy it. In the comments, let me know if you cried. Let me know if you teared up like I did. Like I don't know what it is. It's nostalgia just does that. So yeah.
I haven't seen it.
She hasn't watched it
yet. Would I enjoy it? Truth.
I think you would. I mean, I can't see how anybody would not that was born in that time frame. I just don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me unless you didn't have a TV. I mean, because Nickelodeon was so big then. The one thing that I was watching that, and this is sad. I'm a little older than you, Andy. There was a time frame in Nickelodeon. One of my favorite things was to watch Nick at Night. Mm. And they don't talk about Nick at Night at all.
They don't. They do mention Snick Saturday night.
They mention Snick. They mention Snick, but like I remember as a kid watching like Car 54, Where Are You? And Mr. Ed and like all these old shows my parents watched. And I remember my dad being like, "What are you doing?" And you know, I learned a lot of those old shows like Leave It to Beaver and My 3 Sons. They didn't talk about any of that, but all of the other stuff. I mean, watching how they figured out how to do slime. Like that was such a big deal. They made slime into gack and they sold it, but it was all because they were just dumping it, and you can't do that in television. And then just became a part of it. Like why they picked orange, why orange is the color, like all those things I would have never known. And I just think it's so cool. The rebranding, how they did it. And one of the things that I also liked was the people that did it, that lady. I mean, she was an innovator, and she basically didn't want hardly any credit. She basically gave that all. She's like, look, we did this for our kids. We went out, we wanted to bring out good programming, and it wasn't about being a name. And when she was talking, she was so humble. It was really cool. It was just inspirational to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I think, look, Brittany, just watch it. At least watch it with Kirk so Kirk can cry on your shoulder.
I wouldn't be sad that they didn't show Nick at Night, though, because when that would come on, I'd get so angry and change the channel. I'm like, why do we want to watch these old folk shows?
See, that's why my kids don't want to watch old stuff.
You know what's funny about Nick at Night? The last time I remember like tuning into Nick at Night or just knowing what was on Nick at Night, I think the George Lopez show was on Nick at Night. Like that's an old show now.
Right? Yeah. So that just tells you how old we are, right? You know, so George Lopez. I mean, anyways.
When I was watching it, it was Fresh Prince was Nick at Night. So there you go. I mean, that's
okay. So is offensive.
Emotional damage.
That okay, so now I'm talking about My Three Sons. Like,
yeah, it was old, like black and white.
Black and white. Mr. Ed,
stuff.
the horse is talking. A horse is a horse, of course.
Right.
Let's go with my George. You were talking about George Lopez. I've got my George on to finish up the show. And a couple episodes back, I put as my television series, one of my favorite television series was The Sopranos. And I mentioned I had The Sopranos on when I was in Iraq. And I had people purchase, my sister, I bought all the Sopranos episodes and I sent them in, and my sister sent all those episodes out to me. I also had this documentary sent to me. I still have it, actually.
I know what he's going to pick.
I have Band of Brothers. This is the most fantastic piece of war literature ever put. It was done by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. It was modeled after the Saving Private Ryan. This is fantastic. It's 10 discs. I have watched these 10 discs probably 12 times. I haven't watched it in a while. I have not watched this in a while. I mean, look at this. This is just so amazing.
No, turn around the other way.
And then I have not watched it in a while, but it is one of the best shows I've ever watched. It was an HBO show. I'm kind of bending the rules with the documentary. I looked up the documentary over and over and over. It was on one of the documentaries, but I will tell you this. It's based on true effects, and it's done by Tom Hanks, and they actually have the guys that survived. They're in this show in the beginning and the end, talking about their Purple Hearts and everything. And I saw a separate kind of making of this documentary type thing. And all the guys are like, this is exactly what happened. Like, this is like to the T, as much as they possibly could without, adding a few words here and there. Again, when I was looking up documentaries, I only saw it on one. I wasn't even going to count it. When I saw it on that one, I'm like, gosh, that got me wanting to find how I could get this in. But when I think of documentaries, there's nothing better. And like, this is just so amazing. I can't even talk much more about it, but it's basically World War II. It's Easy Company. Tom Hanks's son is in it, which got him his start. There's so many other great actors in there. David Schwimmer is in it. It's a long list of great people. If you've not seen this, it's 10 discs. Each one's an hour. I'm sure it's online right now. It's on something right now. I might start this again, like ASAP, just now thinking of it. Like, it's so good. The Band of Brothers. So yeah, I mean, you guys can crash on me that you might say it's not a documentary. It's my freaking Rushmore. And this is the type of documentary I want to watch. So it's the only one out of all of mine that is not going to be geeky or sports. So this is how I got my war one in. But have you seen this, Andy?
Yeah, I've seen some of it. Ron Livingston, I love him. So he's great. So
yep.
I'll have to catch some more of it. I'm okay with you bending the rules. I mean, you already bent the rules on the last one and picked 2 documentaries. So I mean, I guess if you're gonna break them, if you're gonna go big or go home, right?
So I remember when you were watching that at the West Lawn House, and you had started the series, and really you don't watch that kind of stuff. Like, you don't watch really heavy stuff that often. I mean, you like thought-provoking type of stuff, but it's geeky sports most of the time. So when you started watching that, I was pretty intrigued. I was like, hey, what is this? But yeah, I do remember years and years ago when you started watching it. And
it's actually pretty dusty, and I feel like getting it out again. I don't really like the watch the DVD thing, like having to change the channel. I'd rather just go find it wherever it's at. Well, actually, it's probably on HBO Max because it was an HBO episode. I bet it's there. Steven Spielberg, by the way, you can't hate anything Spielberg
It's not
does.
Technically a documentary, being a lover of documentaries, but
Yeah,
I'll let you have
that's
it.
where I'm going. That's where I'm going. And look, you know what?
It's yours.
I told you in the beginning, I'm not a documentary fan. I could have loaded this up. You're going to hear. Okay, so let's take that one out. My very first. I'm just saying. My very next one. No, I'm not knocking it out. But my very first one off of Benjamin's would have been on the 4. So if you want to take it out, move this one up because you guys ain't picking that one.
No,
Here we go. You ready?
I think it's.
It's controversial. I mean,
he's a little salty.
It's okay.
Okay, go. What's the very?
No. It's going to be my Benjamin. It's going to be my first Benjamin. Right?
Okay.
I get, when I pick it, because I know probably both of you aren't picking it.
Going around for the Benjamins.
Yeah, that's how it goes. So, with that being said, I know it's controversial. You guys will bash me. You know how I do things. I like to do it my own way. So, welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about my top 4 and nothing more. So, look, hey, let's go to our second part, our second segment, Andy. You ready?
Yes. What are we doing on our second segment, Kurt?
All right. So this is what we've been doing for the last month and a half, maybe 2 months now. This is episode 43, right?
Wow.
43. We are 9 away from a year. 9
Crazy.
more episodes away from the year. That's just insane.
That is
We're just rolling right around. Finishing up in November, finish up December. Gosh, it's been that long. So here we go. This is what we decided to do towards the end of our second segments, and we are going to go with all about the Benjamins. Well, you start us off with the Benjamins. Now, look, on this one, you don't have to give us a whole lot of info.
Cool.
You're just kind of like, this is what it is. Give us a little bit about what it's about. And we're going to go to the next one.
Perfect. So I'm going to go back to what I started with. We're going to go back to fish. So Seaspiracy.
Seaspiracy.
Okay.
So,
what's Seaspiracy
so
about?
Seaspiracy talks about like all the byproduct, the fish that are killed in like the fishing industry.
That sounds
more dead fish. More dead.
Fantastic.
Like dolphins and sharks and like endangered species that are killed. So
all right. So Seaspiracy.
Seaspiracy.
All right. You're up.
All right. We're gonna get some more animals in here. I'm gonna do the same kind of categories of ones, or I'm gonna try to do the same categories of ones I did in my Rushmore, but the second best to me.
Okay.
So let's start with animals. I'm gonna go. There's a couple different ones like this, so I guess I'll go for 2 here. But it's one series, and they got anyway. It's called Secrets of the Zoo. Secrets of the Zoo, and there's different cities that they do them in. And cool.
This is one of those shows that Ken and I watch. Yeah, and I think it's on Animal Planet.
Yeah, it's Disney Plus. So yeah, I pull it up.
Which is a part of that. Yep. So that's a great one. All right, so I get 2 back to back. Number 1, I'm going to take one that I know we actually enjoy. I'm glad she didn't take it, and it is amazing. It's a sports one. I'm taking Last Chance U.
Good one.
Good one. Last Chance U. Basically, kids getting their last chance at a college and moving because they were in trouble. And then my next one, I'm going to go with, right? So Last Chance U would have been my Rosie, by the way. So just, that's what I'm saying. So that would have been my next one. And I don't even have to worry about this because I know you guys don't have any of mine. So I'm just going to pick whatever order I want. Because usually it's like, I wonder if they're going to take it. I'm going to go with Back in Time. It is the documentary on the Back to the Future series, and just fantastic. It just came out about 3 months ago, so you guys go check that out. All about the DeLorean and all that stuff. It's really awesome.
All right, so my next one, my category was going to be kind of the nostalgia one. It was going to be High Score. Had to get that out of here. It was going to be the toys that made us. That had to get that one out of here. So I'm pulling another one here. I'm going to go with The Pixar Story.
Oh, that was on my list. You took that one. All right, cool. That's a good one.
Story. Love it.
You're up for 2.
Okay, I'm going to go with Athlete A, the Larry Nassar story about the gymnast, the Olympics, so that's one. And then I'm going to stick with sports, and because they're all the same story, guys. So it's the Untold series on Netflix.
Untold series. Nice.
Yeah, I love that one. That one's good.
All right, here's my next one. I'm going to go music here. I'm going to go for a music one. This one is maybe bending the rules a little bit because it's a mockumentary. It's totally made up. This is Spinal Tap.
Wow.
This is Spinal Tap.
Yes. That was like a cult classic.
I love it.
You know what? I don't know that I've seen it.
It's so good. They go to 11.
I know what it is. I know what it's about. I just don't know that I ever had a chance to watch it. And now I haven't even thought about it in so long. Anyways, Moving right along. So I'm going to take my last two picks. This is really hard. This actually is hard because there's a lot that I want to talk about. So I got a couple wrestling ones here that I wanted to do, and I'm only going to pick one. And I'm going to go with the newest one, the A&E special, WWE Legends, the biographies. And so it takes like 12 of the best athletes that have ever been in wrestling and kind of goes through their story. It's freaking awesome. And then I'm going to finish up. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I always say I do. Whatever. I always
freaking top
wait.
4.
Here it is. I always say I do something and I have to have watched it. I have to have seen it. I have not seen 1 second of this. And I think it's funny. Because everybody's going to be like, how can you put that in there? Well, you'll know. I'm going with Last Dance, the Michael Jordan freaking documentary that just came out.
You haven't watched it?
Nope, haven't watched it yet.
I haven't either.
I have not watched it yet. But I know that I should have had it in my top 4. And the only reason it wasn't there is because I hadn't watched it yet. And I know y'all can bash me in the comments. But yeah, there you go.
Gosh, put that in your Rushmore. Take Band of Brothers out of there. That doesn't even count.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
well, I have to watch it, and then I might move it up.
Okay, maybe so. All right, so my last one, I'm gonna go basketball as well. I was between this one and Last Dance, but I'm gonna just do it. I love ESPN 30 for 30 films. Some of the greatest documentaries that there are. It's so hard to pick the best. I mean, there's so many.
I almost just took the whole 30 for 30.
Right, exactly. I'm glad you didn't, because my last Benjamin is Bad Boys. Oh,
the Pistons.
Detroit Pistons.
Nice.
That was a good one.
It's a really good one.
Oh, it's
Your last
so
pick.
painful.
Your last pick is.
Can I just ramble all the ones that were on my list? I feel like I should.
That's what I used to
be
do,
able
but we stopped that. That's what I used to do.
Okay, I'm really torn here.
You can put the rest in the comments if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and I guess you're gonna say it was on trend, but I'm gonna go with Making a Murderer.
That's a good one.
Okay, so this is the one murder one I was gonna put. I actually watched this.
That was really
and
good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I was even thinking about maybe the Dahmer one too.
Not
the new one, the one before that.
Oh yeah.
The one
we watched together. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about a couple of those murder ones. Not Dahmer, the guy Ted Bundy, the Bundy file thing. But anyways, I like those. I actually watched those with you, and so I figured you were going to put a few of those. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to get stuck on those because I feel like there's so many other documentaries out there that nobody watches.
I'm surprised you didn't do any prisons.
Well, there's not a lot of.
You got a cult in there. You got a murder in there. You're surprised you didn't get any prisons.
I haven't watched Prisons in a while though.
Holy cow!
The world's dangerous prison.
I know about every single prison in the world.
I did go on it for a long time. Other than the world's most dangerous prisons that comes out and the guy goes in, I haven't watched a prison one in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So look, that is that's our show, man. That is our Rushmore of documentaries. I have so many more. I'll maybe put mine in the comments too, which is something that I keep saying I'm going to do, but I never do and put my list. But yeah. Rushmore, we have just broken 200 subs. It's phenomenal. Like I said, 43 episodes. We're coming close to that end of the year. Here's the cool thing. All 9 episodes, we already have a guest lined up. We have another YouTube show coming up that's going to be a part of our, not YouTube show, but a podcast, if you will, Retro Rewind. They're going to be up in December. We got some of our friends making their second and third and even some first hangouts with us. Next month is all food. But before we do that, before we jump into food for Thanksgiving, we got gas station food coming up. We got, dude, I'm a gas station food junkie. Before we do Thanksgiving and all that, fast food. We're going to hang out with your wife next week, man.
Yeah.
We are. Go, Courtney, for Nostalgia TV or whatever we want to call it. But you know, it's got my gears going. I'm already ready to jump into that.
I'm glad you didn't pick me for that one.
Yeah. Full House or something, you know. It's probably been it. But anyways, so Andy, man, this has been fun.
Yeah.
I got any last words for you?
Yeah, I do want to say this, and you kind of touched on this in the end. Out of all of the documentaries we mentioned, not a single Crushmore. So you're saying 24 documentaries that we named, only one of them is like a crime or like a murder one.
No.
That seems to be the largest portion of them that you find. It's always about somebody murdering somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
And you
It's
know,
surprising. So
that's kind of what started a lot of love for documentaries, is because people always are just so
True
interested in how the
crime,
crime happened, you know, and you don't get to be a part of that.
There's so many cool crime documentaries, but I think all the other genres of documentaries are underrated.
Yeah, I'm a sports guy, nerdy guy. I watch a few military ones or whatever, but you know, for the most of it, that's where I want to be.
I watch them all. Oh, I love them all.
So look, man, that's been our show. Comment in the bottom what's your favorite documentaries. Let us know if you liked our list, our mountains. Again, if you have some things that you may be interested in coming up next October and talking about TV, some of the topics we should probably be talking about. And we're going to nail it out with food coming up. So that's been our show. We'll see you guys in the comments. Andy, how we finish it, man?
this is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your
Top 4
And nothing more.
Peace.
Peace.